Hey foodies, and welcome back to Cooking with Kiana. Today I have a delicious meatloaf recipe for you guys today. If you guys want a super tender, moist, and flavorful meatloaf recipe, look no further because this is the recipe for you. If you guys are interested in this recipe, keep on watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a new recipe and you could become a part of the foodie family. So let me go ahead and introduce these ingredients so we can get started. For this recipe, you're going to need a half of a green bell pepper and 1 bowl of scallion. If you can't find scallion, you can always substitute that for some regular onions. I'm also going to be adding some fresh herbs to this meatloaf. This is going to make it super flavorful. I'm going to be using 4 sprigs of fresh thyme. I'm also going to be using 1/4 of a cup of fresh parsley, as well as 2 sage leaves. And obviously I'm going to chop everything up and make sure I remove it from its stem. I'm also going to be using 2 tablespoons of a basil marinara sauce. This is going to make the meatloaf extra moist and add in some flavor. I'm also going to be adding 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, however I butchered that sauce. We're also going to be adding in 3 slices of bread, as well as a cup of milk. This is what we're going to be soaking our bread in, and this is the seasonings that we're going to be using for this meatloaf. I am using 1.5 teaspoons of Cajun seasoning, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, and 2 teaspoons of complete seasoning, and also 1 to 2 teaspoons of crushed red pepper, depending on how spicy you want your meatloaf to be. And lastly, I'm going to be using 2 pounds of ground beef for this recipe. I'm going to be using 80/20. If you want, you can use lean meat for this. Alright, so first we're going to start off by soaking 3 slices of white bread in 1 cup of milk. Go ahead and break that up and just go ahead and fully submerge that with your fork. As you can see, the bread is going to soak up all of that milk. Go ahead and set that aside, and we're going to get started on our meatloaf. So just go ahead and add in all of that seasoning to your meatloaf, as well as your bell peppers and your green onions, as well as the fresh herbs. We're also going to add in that tomato basil marinara sauce, and we're going to add in the Worcestershire sauce, and we're going to crack in 2 eggs and add that in as well. Go ahead and mix everything together. Try not to over mix it. Try to fold everything into each other, because if you over mix it, your meatloaf is going to be tough and you do not want that. Okay, so now that everything is mixed, we're going to add in the bread that has been soaking in that milk. As you can see, it has absorbed all of that milk. Go ahead and fold that in as well. Form your ground beef into a loaf-like shape, and then we can go ahead and place it into our baking sheet. Alright, so now we're going to get started on the glaze. For the glaze, I'm going to be using 1/2 cup of ketchup, 1/3 of a cup of barbecue sauce, and 1 tablespoon of honey mustard. Now we're going to add in a tablespoon of brown sugar, just so it is not too tangy, but it's going to be just right. Go ahead and mix that all together. Once it is a nice smooth consistency like this, you can go ahead and brush that glaze onto your meatloaf. We are only going to be adding 1 layer. After you're done adding that layer, we're going to go ahead and pop this in the oven on 350 for 50 minutes. Make sure your meatloaf is covered. That is very important so it does not dry out. Halfway through, we're going to go ahead and add in the rest of that glaze. Then we're going to pop that back in the oven for the remaining time. After that time is up, we're going to add on another layer of that glaze, and then we're going to pop this in the oven on 420 for 8 minutes, just so that glaze could caramelize a little bit on the top. Alright, so now that this is fresh out the oven, we're going to go ahead and let that cool off. We're just going to add a little bit of parsley on top, you know, just for presentation. Now let's go ahead and cut into this. As you can see, it is super tender. That fork just slides right through. And it is super moist on the inside. You guys definitely need to try this recipe. That is why I have left the recipe in the description box below. That way you guys can make this at home. I hope you guys enjoyed this easy to follow meatloaf recipe. If you did, make sure you guys leave a comment below. Let me guys know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.